Greetings fellow humans, I'm MartianBuu, and this is Pokemon Pocket, which is a condensed version of the Pokemon trading card game releasing globally for mobile on October 30th. Each Pokemon has health and attacks that can deal damage. You can see the health in the top right of the card, and in the main body of the card you can see the attack Blot, which deals 10 damage and requires a grass energy to be used. Every turn a player can attach an energy from the energy zone to one of their Pokemon. You can see my opponent's energy zone in the top left. It has the grass symbol right here. My energy zone is in the bottom right with the fighting symbol right here. To attach an energy, you just drag an energy from the energy zone over to your Pokemon, just like that. Now that Cubone has a fighting energy on it, it can use all of its attacks that require one fighting energy or a colorless energy. A colorless energy requirement can be fulfilled by any energy. That's that little white symbol right there. Before I attack, I can play trainer cards to help support my Pokemon. So here we have Pokeball, which puts a random basic Pokemon from my deck into my hand. A basic Pokemon is a Pokemon that you can play right down on the field. So that would be like Cubone. This Marowak in my hand is a stage 1 Pokemon, so it requires Cubone to have been out on the field for a turn already before it can evolve. Pokeball is an item, which is one of the 2 subtypes of trainer cards. Items have minor effects, but you can use as many items as you want during a turn. So you use them just by dragging it out of your hand like that, and now I get my one random basic Pokemon into my hand. Supporters are the other type of trainer card. They have major effects, but you can only use one each turn. Each player can have 1 Pokemon in the active spot and 3 Pokemon on the bench. As you can see, my opponent has 1 in their active spot and all 3 bench spots are full as well, but my bench is empty, which means I can take this Hitmonchan from my hand and put it onto my bench. Now that I've done everything I can do in my turn, it's time to attack. I go to attack, and once completed, my turn is automatically ended. Coming back to my turn, I draw a new card, and now that Cubone has been around for a turn, I'm free to evolve it. When a Pokemon is knocked out, you gain a point. The first player to get to 3 points wins the game. This Marowak is an EX, which means it's stronger than other Pokemon, but it's worth 2 points when it's knocked out. It's a new turn, so I can attach an energy again, letting me use my Bone Meringue attack. Wow, I got 2 heads. That's 160 damage, knocking out Petlil, at which point I will gain a point. That's the basics of the gameplay. I hope you enjoy this video and look forward to downloading Pokemon Pocket on October 30th. Not going first, I hate going first. Going first is stupid. All right, there's a Psyduck, there's a Psyduck. At least we have a Gastly, but like, blah. There's another Execute Farfetch deck. Interesting. Alright, cool. So even if we don't draw the EX Gengar, we can at least be attacking with this one. Duck, duck, no goose, yeah. Ow. Alright, well, I don't think I'm gonna red card them at this point. No supporter for you. Why is going first so bad? Because you don't get to attach an energy. So the other player gets more tempo advantage. Waiting for your opponent to return. Are they having connection issues? Issues? No! Wait, this is exactly the EX Executor, except less damage. Also, the real version of this card was like 1,000 times more interesting. Okay, cool. Glad to see the second Gastly. Now I can attack with this Gengar. While we power up the other one. No supporters for you. You do get to evolve first, so some Pokemon are better going first. Yeah, but those Pokemon, so far, those Pokemon aren't really worth using, right? Like the Marowak was nice because you would be put in that situation sometimes when you had to go first in the Marowak deck I was playing before. But hey, that's still not good. You're still at a disadvantage if you're in that position. So it'll probably be, at some point, it'll probably be better to go first. But right now it just feels awful. Hey, give me my Haunter. Maybe it is worth just putting the Mewtwo in here, right? Like I have one Mewtwo EX. I could put it in here just so like I have something to attack with, or like to spend energy on when I'm in situations like this, but I don't know. I don't think it's worth it. Is it always better to be second? I think so. I think so. I don't think there's a deck, like, I don't think there's a good deck that wants to go second. Or wants to go first, rather. Like, Articuno High Roll is okay going first, right? Because you can just Misty onto it. But, other than that. My opponent is not good at flipping hits. Just saying. Ooh, Haunter for me? One time? That's not Haunter. That's not Haunter at all. This deck needs like rare candy. Yay! Hi, Farfetch'd. Venusaur. I do have a Giovanni. Oh, sick. Hi, Haunter. Alright. We're ready. This will get to knock out the thing. And then... our Gengar EX will be ready. The problem with that is, what's his face heals itself a ton. So it's got basically 220. I deal 100, they deal 100 and heal. I deal 100. I lose? This Venusaur, once it gets going, is pretty disastrous, huh? I need a Sabrina. So I have 2 in deck, 4 cards in deck, so I have like 50% chance to draw it. And then them getting out of the active spot is going to be tough, right? So... well, I guess they could attack... wait. If they attach and retreat with X attack... but we didn't get the Sabrina. What's going on with this chat? This is a disaster. You know what? Maybe I should attack with a Psyduck this turn, actually. I should wait on the Sabrina, right? Alright. Because I don't want them to damage the Gengar. I wish Psyduck forced them to attach energy to the active Venusaur, though. Not getting the Sabrina here was really bad, I think. Do you find yourself wishing you could do more powerful things? Not really. I think The balance is okay. I just wish I had more cards so I could play more decks, is where I'm at right now. I don't really need to be doing more powerful things yet. All right. So if we get a Sabrina here, I think we're in a good spot. If we don't, I think we lose. Can I not lose the 1 and 3, please? Thank goodness. All right. So I'm gonna Sabrina, and then they'll retreat. But unless they have an X speed, they can't retreat and attack with the big attack. So theoretically, I'll have 2 turns. I'll have the 2 turns to draw my second Sabrina to get the Executor back in the active spot. Also, would a deck like this even have the room for X speed? Because, like, they have a bunch of Pokemon, and theoretically, they'd want 2 Research and 2 Ericas, right? So, how would they fit X speed? Oh, my opponent's just over it? Neat. Sick. We did it. It's interesting that you can't choose the energy type you use. If you could choose which energy you got from the energy zone every turn, it wouldn't matter what Pokemon you were including in your deck, right? There has to be a downside to running multiple types for types to matter. When I was playing the TCG game, I was using a Venusaur Nidoking deck, if I remember correctly. I know for sure I was running the Venusaur. Venusaur in the original Game Boy game is good. You want to run Venusaur basically as your main attacker, and then 4 times Pokemon Center, and ooh, second, and we start with Psyduck. Good deal. And then you move the energy off the Venusaur with its ability, heal it with the Pokemon Center, and move the energy back on. I have that deck built for it's one of my base through fossil decks that I actually built. I like Blastoise the best out of the starter evolutions because of Rain Dance. Charizard was actually the worst one. Charizard was the worst one. It's funny. I also think the Blastoise deck, if you look at base through fossil, it's like super overrated. Yeah, the narrative that I was exposed to over the years is that Haymaker was the best deck, and then Blastoise was the other thing you could play. And it turns out that's not true. Haymaker isn't even the best deck of its format. You know, it's like a stupid Lickitung stall deck is the best base through fossil deck. But the Blastoise is actually a pretty inconsistent deck. You have to go ham sandwich with your Oaks to make sure that you get your Squirtle early. And so you kind of blow away a bunch of your resources in the early game just to be able to have a chance of winning. And although you can keep attaching water energy with the Rain Dance ability throughout the whole game, you run out of energy to attach eventually. Like that's how much energy removal cards there are in the earliest formats of Pokemon trading card game. When you have infinite energy to attach, when you have infinite attach allowances per turn, you can still run out of energy just because you can't run enough energy in your deck to cancel out your opponent's energy removals. So it's just funny. It's something I've learned from having built all those decks in real life recently. Is it's actually the Blastoise deck is actually incredibly fragile. I think of the best, like it turns out Venusaur, in my opinion, is the best of them. So it does kind of have a similar problem with energy removal, but what you can do is you can attach to your board one at a time, like one on one Pokemon at a time. Never have 2 energy on the same Pokemon in the early game. And then your opponent can't use, if you're doing that, your opponent can't efficiently use super energy removal to get 2 energies for 1 energy card. So you're basically waiting them out until they allow you to have 4 total energy on the board, and then once they do that, you can last to protect your energy, and then the Venusaur eventually becomes unkillable because it's doing so much damage and has enough HP that a deck that has enough energy removal isn't going to be able to knock it out in 2 hits. It's going to take them like 3. And hopefully you just draw a Pokemon Center before your opponent draws a ton of energy removal. Where am I Haunter? That Articuno has 2 retreat. Yeah, I'll Sabrina that. I don't know what the Blastoise does. I think it's like 3 for 100, and then if it has 2 extra energy, it does like 160 or something like that. I love talking about base through fossil, to be honest, scratching the itch. Thanks to the breakdown. Yeah, for sure, Gorzalis. I also love talking about base through fossil. I built a ton of it, like not a ton. I built like 5 or 6 of the decks recently. And I'd love to play them more. I wish like locals had other people who had those decks, you know. I took the Blastoise and the Venusaur deck to my dad's once, and he had a blast with me playing them. I also think Rain Dance and Venusaur are pretty evenly matched. So if you want to like have 2 power level, like equitable power level decks to face each other, the Venusaur Pokemon Center deck and the Blastoise Rain Dance deck are pretty evenly matched. I would definitely build those. I collected and played heavily through the end of Gym Heroes. The Team Rocket set was some of my favorites. Yeah, the Team Rocket set, the 4th set of Pokemon TCG, is the only set I've ever collected in its entirety. So when that one came out, I was probably like 11 or 12, and like the concept of dark Pokemon, so they had dark in their name, was so like, oh, Team Rocket running dark Pokemon, that's so cool, you know, like this nice little edgy Pokemon, like the evil Pokemon. That was really fun. So that set really resonated with me at the time, and the internet was like super new, like people's access to the internet, and they had this like real life Team Rocket balloon that they were parading all over the earth just as a for fun thing to do, and you could go to this special site and see where the Team Rocket balloon was. So that was fun. And I got this little packet that listed all of the cards. Like they had the official like collect them all packet thingy that listed every card in the Team Rocket set. So I had this checklist, and it inspired me to try to collect all the cards. Chat, I think we lose this one. I won't lie to you. I think not having a Gastly is bad news bears. Is Haymaker just the tier 0 deck? In base through fossil? No. The tier 0 deck is Lickitung Stall. I really like Gym Heroes Team Rocket, even though I know now it's probably wasn't a good card. If you want to see a terrible card, look up Imposter Oak's Revenge. No, that's a good card. Imposter Oak's Revenge is... By the way, I know all those cards from back then. I don't need to look up any of that stuff. I've been playing this whole time. So I'm extremely familiar with the original cast of cards. Imposter Professor Oak's Revenge was good. Part of what made it good is so you would discard a card from your hand and your opponent would have to shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 4 cards. And what you would do from there is you would play... Here, let me switch that out for a Pokemon that might not kill me. I mean, all it's really going to do is make them retreat, right? Like, it's not like this actually buys me any time. If they play the Venusaur EX, I lose on the spot. So now they have 4 cards. Then you play Team Rocket's Sneak Attack. You get to look at your opponent's hand and shuffle a trainer card into their deck. Then you play Rocket's Trap, which is flip a coin. If heads, shuffle 3 random cards from your opponent's hand into their deck. So now your opponent, who had like a full, like, you could do all this on the first turn. So your opponent has like 5, 6 cards in their hand, depending on how many basics they started with. And then... Oh, I think if I Sabrina this turn, it makes my Sabrina from last turn better. But also, they can't use the attack that actually knocks out my Haunter. For all that matters, it doesn't matter, right? So on the first turn, you've taken their 5 or 6 card hand and then made it 4 cards with Imposter Professor Oak's Revenge. And then you've gone in their hand and shuffled one of the trainers they have there into their deck, leaving them with 3. And then you flip heads on Team Rocket's Trap, taking them from 3 cards hand to 0. So that player has not had a chance to do anything yet. And you just deleted their opening hand. That was what? The gym leader sets. I was too young to care at this point. Like, I wasn't like, you know, this is all through retrospect that I know this. Because I was still at the age where I didn't really care about competitive so much, so I was just playing like whatever funny stuff I wanted to play. But this was really common, was to do that type of stuff. Is just to revenge trap your opponent, and then like Imposter Professor Oak's Revenge, sneak attack, trap them on the first turn so that they just lose the game on the spot. You see his revenge in a new light? Yeah. Did I see/answer your message? Hey Martian, are you free to play? It is easy to make a good deck without spending money. I wouldn't say it's easy, and yes, I haven't spent any money yet. I have not spent any money yet. My opponent not drawing that Venusaur has been so nice. Like, if they drew the Venusaur EX, I was toast. I was Martian toast with a side of losing. And now they can't even Sabrina's Chungus me to like get my Gastly on the bench here, because my support, like the Gengar, is stopping them from using supporters. But yeah, so everything I was describing just there, and like that was old Pokemon from like, I don't know, 2001. Was 2001 Gym Heroes? Forget, it was a long time ago. You know what's really funny? So there's a card, Imposter Professor Oak, that came out in the base set that was like, I thought it was bad. But this card is hilarious because it was actually good starting in Gym Heroes or Gym Challenge. I forget if it was Gym Heroes or Gym Challenge when Team Rocket's Tickling Machine came out. First of all, there's a card called Team Rocket's Tickling Machine. But so these cards are all effectively items. They were just called trainers at the time, but they're effectively items. And so like you can play as many of them as you want during your turn. But what Imposter Professor Oak did, the first one, not his revenge, just the first one, Professor Oak, is you would shuffle your opponent's hand into their deck and they would draw 7 cards, which is amazing for them. They want you to do that. It's a terrible, terrible card. But what you could do is you could play Team Rocket's Tickling Machine, which was flip a coin. If tails, end your turn, which is terrible. But if heads, your opponent your opponent sets their hand aside and doesn't get it back until the end of their next turn, something like that. So you could play a stall deck and wait till your opponent has 7 cards left in their deck. Play Tickling Machine, and if you got heads, they take their hand aside, and now they have no hand until the end of their next turn. Then you play Original Imposter Professor Oak. They shuffle their no hand into their deck and draw 7 cards. So they only had 7 cards left in their deck anyway. So now their deck has nothing. And you pass your turn, and they start their turn with no cards left in their deck and lose when they go to draw a card and there's no card to draw. Stupid interaction, but it got played. You know, this game, as far as playing it as a mobile on PC for streaming, doesn't it look way better than Snap did? Like, Snap was too long, right? I feel like you can there's less rows, maybe. There's the same amount of rows. I don't know. The way that this is set up is so much more digestible to me than the giant Snap board, right? Like Snap, you had to cut it up. If you just ran it when it first came out, if you played it in mobile form and just as is without like cutting up the bits and pieces and spreading them out, it was so small. But you can actually see what's going on, can't you? Pretty well. Compared to Snap, at least. Oh no, chat. Where are my Gastlys? Help. Sick. All right. This is about as good as we can expect, right? We got our Gastly. We started with Psyduck. Shuffle their hand into their deck. And then no supporters for the rest of the game. Dizzy Punch is going to be a dizzy disaster for me, isn't it? Hopefully they don't get 2 heads here. If they get 2 heads here, that's going to set me back a ton, because then I'll have to attach to the other Psyduck. But otherwise, I can Sabrina this. Way better. It triggers me. We can't emulate it. This is a little awkward, huh? Yeah. You can turn down the effects for Lessenary. Seems good. I've been playing... How long has the stream been? 3 hours? I started at 85%, I think, and I'm at 36%. So that's 3 hours of constant use. You did a little cropping to make it bigger. What did you do? What did you crop? Martian, you want to join us for the first episode of Born to be Snorlax? Are you guys going to do that? Because that would be fun. 2 tails, let's go! No! Where's that Marowak RNG that I've come to expect? Disaster. Alright, well, we're going to use baby Gengar then. I definitely would have worked on not baby Gengar if the Psyduck had survived. I cropped the opponent's hand and energy to the side to make the rest bigger. Oh, I could see that. So you just have the, like, if you're comparing it to what I have right here, you took like just the top part and moved it over like above where my cam is, and then made the rest of it a little bigger. Yeah, I wonder if that's worth it. I'm not 100% sure how much of this I'm going to be streaming, but so far so good, right? Like, I'd kill to have this many viewers for a Pokemon TCG live stream. Oh, did they really potion their Kangaskhan? That should be illegal. we're gonna have to get that Haunter soon. Or we're toast. I feel like it'll grow a lot on global launch. There's already more pre-release interest than Snap had. Yeah, Pokemon is an IP of all time. I'm kind of in love, but the IP is a big reason. Yeah, I'm right there with you. This game is pretty clearly deliberately imbalanced. Right. You know, you don't make a card like Misty if you want everyone to feel like they won their games based off of their choices, right? Yeah. But I don't know. I like that it's more condensed as far. It feels better to stream this than streaming live, right? Like, I think live is a more fun game when it has my attention, but even like live is just such a crappy app. So Pokemon Trading Card Game Online, the previous client, that is a more interesting game than this if I'm playing by myself. But as far as streaming, I think this is way better. All right. So now I'm going to retreat this thing. And next turn, all I'll have to do to take a knockout is Sabrina. So I think I win. Even if they get out the Venusaur EX. I've really enjoyed streaming it. It's very chill. It's the first game that I've streamed where it's felt like streaming Hearthstone. Like, there's something about streaming Hearthstone that's like inherently cool. Like, you get so much time to turn to chat and talk about what's happening. Whereas if you look at live, you're pressured to do something every 15 seconds. This has a much more Hearthstone reminiscent turn timer. And Snap is just, Snap is Snap. Snap was okay for streaming, but like, even still, I guess, I don't know. Hard to describe why that feels different. It's never not your turn, right? I mean, you're waiting on your opponent to finish their turn. So I feel like there's not as much dedicated time to where that's your time to hang out with chat. That might be the difference. Because I really don't think Snap is that much more complicated than Hearthstone or this version of Pokemon. If it even is. You wish there was tourneys in live? I miss the tournaments in PTCGO. I love doing those little pickup 8-mans. That was great. Misty and Moltres, yeah. You chose to flip heads, you see? I see, yeah. I think Misty... I mean, Misty is like a very silly card, but it's not tilts-worthy for me. Because these are really, really short games, and it seems very intentional to me. They want there to be like games where you just get hosed by the flips. So it doesn't really bother me that much. As far as like, if my opponent just like blows up with a Misty, okay, they won, I'm out. I guess it would matter more to me if there was ranked. There isn't ranked right now. But the Moltres, that's consistent. That's flip 3, and as many heads as you get an energy. It's not like Misty where if they flip tails, oh well, they lose now. So I was thinking, I don't want to even talk about nerfs to this game yet, because it has been out for like 2 seconds. We've had it for 2 seconds. I'm not ready to talk about nerfs for this game. As far as like seriously contemplating making a change. But if I was to pick a card to nerf, it would always be Moltres. Moltres, I think, is the strongest card in this game. Like, the strongest card in this game, and it's just like, it's stupid how much energy it pulls out. Moltres plus any fire Pokemon, and you just like, you're so much more reliably able to hit with much higher numbers. It's just disgusting. So, also, you guys are really funny. You guys are calling Moltres ramp. I'm not like, back in my day, we used to call that energy acceleration. But yeah, I guess I'm not gonna red card them because their hand stinks, doesn't it? It seems like it stinks. I guess I'll power this Haunter up for now, but not worry about evolving it yet, just in case I top deck the other Gengar. Like, I understand that it's ramp, but like it, you know, I'm not used to using the word ramp in Pokemon. Yeah, like the Moltres has a ton of HP. It has a good damaging attack. Moltres is good with itself. You just bench another Moltres. Yeah, the Moltres is just freaking nuts. Like if I was gonna change something, it would be that. All right, now I'll evolve this thing because next turn I'll be able to attach energy to it. My opponent's hand is not good. Also, for some context, they said they're probably going to be light on nerfs in the game unless super necessary. The way they want to treat it more like a paper game, so probably new cards to address old ones. That's great. That's perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what I want. I want only nerfs to things that absolutely require a nerf. And not to ever nerf just for the sake of switching things up. Like Snap was so nerf heavy. Like that's what finally did me in. I was like, I'm so tired of like my cards and decks getting deleted every other week by the constant nerf policy. It's driving me nuts. But yeah, I've always liked how Pokemon tries to, like, I don't know how well that would translate to this style of Pokemon, but regular Pokemon, because you have so much draw and tutor, techs can actually be played without hosing your consistency. You still don't want to run too many, but you can run, like, you can dedicate 2 to 3 cards to tech slots, and it's fine because you can, not only can you search around them for your progress cards, like your, you know, your main strategy cards, but oftentimes you can deliberately tutor your tech when it's relevant. So they can print things like the Spiritomb that came out in Scarlet that shuts off basic V to give people access to something that turns off, you know, Genesect. Or a better example would be like Manaphy from Crown Zenith or whatever the first one came out that prevents bench damage. You know, if you're up against a deck where you think they're going to damage your bench, you can use Nest Ball, find Manaphy, it's on your bench, now you're good. But if it's not, you just don't search for it, or you discard it with an Ultra Ball or something like that. So I don't think that's going to translate super well to this, as far as like, you know, if they put too much tutor in this, it's going to be a little stupid. It's only a 20 card deck, but I really like in Pokemon that when something's too strong, they usually just try to print something that gives you an option against it. And that's worked out more often than it hasn't, in my opinion. There was so many packs, like when I first downloaded the game, you have access to so many packs, and it was so fun just like opening up cards and cards and cards and cards. And then you just kind of run out eventually. Like I have no, so first of all, there's no ranks to build towards. There's no achievements for me to unlock. I'm like out of stuff to do. Hey, I can open some non-Mewtwo packs and there's like a few more things that I could work on. As far as finding like Electabuzz and Magmar, and then you get like a small bonus that I think is largely just Wonder Pick currency. But and like shop currency, which is already useless to me. It's so crazy to me that the second day I was playing this game, I already had a currency that has no value anymore. Like the shop currency means nothing to me. The regular like basic shop ticket, I've been playing for, you know, I had been playing for less than 2 days, and there was already a currency that did nothing for me. I had maxed out on my shop currency. Now I just have like a bunch of extra shop tickets that, like, who cares? Also, did I really just lose? Like a total loser? Disaster. What was I even talking about before that? I don't remember. But yeah, oh, okay, so there's nothing for me to build towards anymore. Like, if there was ranked, then I'd have a rank to grind. But I don't have an achievement to grind anymore. There's all these solo challenges. And like, they get a little hard when you get up to the step up battle and the expert solo battle, like these two. But I still had them all done by the second day, you know? It was really fun when I had this to work on, and now I don't. So, like, all I have is just the solo battle for, or the versus battle for its own sake, and I don't quite have the decks yet to where that's as exciting. You can buy more item cards to make them shiny. I don't really care about that, though. I also, like, I'm trying really hard to eradicate the part of myself that cares about digital cosmetics. It helps that, like, the flare on these things isn't that cool. Like, it's all right, but like, it's a lot of investment to make my cards not match anymore, and I don't like that. So, like, I think I inherently don't really value the flare in this game, and I also just, on a, I guess, personal policy level, philosophy level, something like that, I want to not care about digital cosmetics anymore. Like, I want to never care about it again. So I'm resistant to being interested in cosmetics anyway. So using the extra shop tickets to get the slight flare on the cards is like, I mean, I guess. Really, that doesn't really do anything for me. Zipeps, thank you so much for the Prime, my friend. Thank you so much. How are you? I appreciate you and your Sabrina. You can grind towards the 10,000 win trophy. Where do I see that? There's a 10,000 win trophy? What do I get for that? That is a smart decision, thank you. I've got Omega burned by, like, Hearthstone and a little bit Snap, I guess. I don't know. I just... Ugh. Player profile? Is there more cool stuff in the player profile? Have I not looked at that yet? Look at that enough yet? Alright, so ideally this would be a baby Gengar Gastly. But we'll see. I've come to terms that I hate golden cards in Hearthstone, and I've actually been a lot happier, and I mean that seriously. Nice. Yeah, I wish I could go back and Control-Alt-Delete my my gold cards in Hearthstone. I think that'd be better. Oh, he lets you flip for sleep on the bench? Man, if Muck didn't cost 3 energy, I think it'd be really cool. You could play this in the Muck, right? The Muck is 3 energy, isn't it? To deal the bonus damage if it's a special condition. Is there any chance this lives next turn? And I hope so. I hope so. Pound for 30 is what's coming at me. I forget what the Wigglytuff does. It's this game mode playable with the real cards? No, it's like it's its own app, and it has condensed rules. So I mean, you could probably technically play them with each other, like if you had real versions of these cards, but there are things that like pull randomly, like Pokeball is take a random basic card from your deck, random basic Pokemon from your deck. So to emulate that in the real life cards would be a little stupid, I think, but otherwise. All right, I think both of those targets on the bench are more interesting than the target I have here in the active, so I'm just gonna let them choose which one of them wants to die. Oh, that's a good one. Good deal. No more stupid sleep. Mercs burned me hard with that. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Mercs is an important element in my, like, love of Hearthstone being destroyed. It's not destroyed, like, I still like Hearthstone. Like, I don't love Hearthstone anymore. I still like it. But like Mercs is like the first step down the path that culminated with Twist. And now I don't know. Such a bummer. I like this game though. Alright, well, on the bright side, we have Haunter Gengar. Hey, Payday counters my red card. On the not so bright side, stuff. I feel like Gengar would be way better with Gardevoir than it is with Psyduck. Because, like, I feel mostly limited by attaching energies, but like the reason I'm playing this is I don't have enough Gardevoir to play Gardevoir Mewtwo yet. So like it's just back to the same problem. Alright, opponent has 4 cards in hand, so I guess I red card them. Also, my opponent has a Pinsir on the bench, look at that. Let him go. Let him play that Pinsir. And boop. Reveal the top card of your deck until... Yeah, I mean, like, that's a way to do that. You know, that's just not what that card says, right? We were talking earlier about that. Oh, I think I made it. I marked it. Never mind. I was going to re-explain something that would end up in the video if this episode, this game ends up in the video. If this episode ends up in the video... Alright, my opponent will not be knocking out this Haunter with what they have right now. So I'm not going to worry about not taking this knockout. They have 1 energy on the Ivysaur. I'm gonna have... Okay. So... I should have enough health to take 1 hit from Venusaur's big attack. So I can evolve this turn, hit him with the old Gengar, and then when they send up Venusaur, I can send it to the bench and knock out the Pinsir. Or the Meowth. Alright. Good deal. I think it's so funny, chat. I think it's so funny the difference in scaling for these cards. I was gonna not play Gastly because I didn't want them to Sabrina me, but they can't because of Gengar. But this effect, Sabrina, is worth half an item in regular Pokemon TCG. Like, this is on Escape Rope, you know, and Escape Rope does more than just switch out your opponent's active Pokemon. So it's better than that, and it's an item, not a supporter. As a supporter, I don't know, like, if this drew 3 cards, I could see running it as a, you know, a flex supporter in a deck that didn't need specific supporters. But, like, you know, just switching your opponent's active Pokemon, being a strong supporter is so funny to me. Like, this card is nuts in the context of this game. But in the context of 5 bench Pokemon, better items and supporters, regular to Pokemon TCG, it's terrible. Spooky shot, go! Hey Marshy, it's been a while since I was able to catch a stream. Hope you a good one. I hope you a good one, Hee-hoo. Good to see you. Going second, good for me. Good for me. It'd be even better for me if I started with Psyduck. Magikarp? Give me a Giovanni. There isn't a Gyarados EX, right? There's just the regular Gyarados that takes like 4 water energy. Because it doesn't matter how much energy a water Pokemon needs, right? You just have to be good at flipping heads with Misty. Opponent had... Ooh, can we get a Psyduck? I got the X speed. Neat. Alright. Do that. Retreat. There you go. Enjoy your no supporters for hopefully the rest of the game. Good luck powering up your Gyarados without the supporter, by the way. By the way. That's a little scary. I don't want my stuff to be asleep. That's another thing about this game, is status conditions actually matter again. Nothing paralyzes yet, right? I think I've only seen sleep and poison. Does anything even confuse? But the stats and switching ability on Pokemon, the regular trading card game, have gotten so overblown that status conditions don't matter. If you poison something, it doesn't care that it took that damage in most cases. If you confuse, they nerfed that one, you can just retreat out of it now. Paralyze or sleep, you just switch. You know, like, it's real. Status conditions matter very, very, very little in modern TCG, but because everything here is scaled down, they do matter a little bit. So I'm gonna enjoy that while it lasts. I like the high retreat cost on this, and the fact that they can't play any supporters. What deck do you currently play in the TCG? I used a Terapagos Ogerpon deck at the most recent cup I went to. Articuno paralyzes Naughty X1 on a coin flip for 3 energy. Oh, neat. The electric eel fish guy paralyzes. Okay, yeah. But no, has anyone seen Confusion yet? Is that around? Alright, well, this Gyarados is Gyaradosin down, whatever that means. And by that, I also mean, who cares about this Gyarados? I'm going to use Sabrina. And knock out probably the Frostmoth, right? They're not going to sacrifice their Squirtle here. Boop. Now, a second Sabrina would be great here. Yeah, on a coin flip. Who has Confusion? It would be like a Slowpoke or something, right? I haven't seen Confuse, but I got enough of that on my own. Fair enough. Fair enough. Alright. Well, slightly unfortunate we couldn't find the second Sabrina, but it doesn't really matter because they got out an extra basic anyway. My opponent is really sad that they can't play Misty. I'll just put that out there. My opponent is in shambles that they can't play Misty. Marshy's gonna need... something to follow up. Oh, that's good. Can I get the Haunter, please? No. So if they play the Blastoise, right, and they hit my Gengar for, I think it's 100, I can hit them back for 100, and then I need something else to deal the extra, I don't know how much it is. But so yeah, I need to get the Haunter next turn, or else I can't win. No, or I could also top deck Sabrina if they don't evolve that thing to Pidgeot. So those are my outs. Also, if they just don't find Blastoise EX here, that's great. I don't think there's a freeze effect either. Yes, but there's also not a freeze effect in the regular TCG. So there's no precedent for freeze in trading card game. Well, I drew the Haunter, so I would have been fine. Well, I think I need to draw Gengar too, right? How much HP does Blastoise have? Surely it's like 180 or something, right? Do I play Pokemon Go? I do. I do. But yeah, that's the Gengar deck. I think maybe this deck could use a better support Pokemon than Psyduck, but I don't know which one it would be. Like, when I played that Marowak deck, it was nice to have the Marowak as like a cheap attacker while I powered up the Hitmonchan as a cheap attacker while I powered up Marowak, right? Whereas the Psyduck has less HP and deals less damage, so it's really not doing much for you, I think, other than maintaining the lock if you draw perfectly afterwards and go first in the right order. So anyways, I feel like this might make more sense as a Gardevoir deck. Fun fact about Pokemon Pocket, 100% of the dark type Pokemon in the game right now are actually not dark type. They're poison Pokemon. This is a carryover from the main Pokemon trading card game. They consolidate types because you really don't need that many in-game mechanically to create interesting gameplay, and if you put too many, it's hard to put support for everything. Poison has had a pretty interesting history. It started off as grass, so the grass type originally included grass, bug, and poison. Then in Diamond and Pearl, they moved poison from grass over to psychic, and poison makes a lot of sense in psychic because a lot of poison Pokemon are purple. And there's no other good reason to move it over. I'm being facetious. I think it has absolutely no flavor reason to be in Psychic. But Psychic only had Psychic and Ghost at the time, and Grass was overloaded with too many Pokemon to represent. So they moved Poison over, and you can kind of swing it because Poison Pokemon are typically purple. That's the only thing I can think of. Then in, I think, Sword and Shield, they moved poison Pokemon again from Psychic over to Dark. That made sense for similar reasons. Dark only had dark Pokemon in it, so they didn't have a lot of Pokemon to represent, and Psychic had just inherited Fairy, which used to have its own type, but after the hey, Fairy's the new type hype wore off, I guess they decided they didn't need that many types and just shifted Fairy to Psychic. Dark, I think, is a much better home for Poison type Pokemon than Psychic was, because Psychic made no sense. And Poison at least comes with some kind of like underhanded air to it, you know what I mean? That you could justify it being in the dark type. So Poison has changed types twice, Fairy has changed types once, and Dragon has changed types 3 times. So it started off as normal, then way in the future, it got its own type, Dragon, and then they stopped supporting Dragon for a little bit and printed them as colorless again. And after only a few sets, had another big dragon set, and they've been dragons ever since. Other than that, everything's kind of been in the same spot that it always has been. Another fun fact, Dark is actually my favorite type in the TCG, followed very closely by Metal. So it's nice that one of my favorite Pokemon, Crobat, is now among my favorite type, Dark. But also, where are all my Dark type Pokemon? I want to see Tyranitar and Darkrai and Umbreon and lots of other cool things, you know, lay 'em on me. But let's go. Let's get some actual real dark Pokemon in this dark type. It's so funny to have a type that is complete misnomer. Looking at this game objectively, if you have never played the TCG game before, without that context, coming in here and seeing a bunch of poison Pokemon called dark Pokemon, what's going on with that?